Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everyone, depending on when you are watching this with us at PlayStreet. My name is Shireen Idikla, and I am the Director of the Clinical Services at PlayStreet, Bangalore, India. I am a speech and language therapist, a feeding therapist, and a movement therapist. If you have been following us over this month, you would know that we have been bringing to you pioneers in the field of autism to help spread awareness and knowledge all through this month, the month of April, which is also the month of autism awareness and acceptance. Today's talks are going to be extra special. And why? Because today we are not bringing to you a doctor or a therapist to bring about awareness, but two amazing individuals living with different neurodevelopmental conditions who are going to be sharing their story and their voices. How does it get better than this? The first part of this interview is going to be with Mikey Akers, a 20-year-old inspirational individual who has verbal dyspraxia. The second part of the interview, which is going to be aired later in the day, will feature the incredible Tatvik Vikas, or Tachu, as everyone lovingly calls him. I will be introducing them more in detail during the interviews. I hope you enjoy both interviews as much as I did when I took them. These two individuals are truly inspiring and will help you open your mind to more possibilities. Enjoy. Today is our 20th talk, and our remarkable speaker for today is Mikey Akers. Mikey is the founder of Mikey's Wish, an organization that raises awareness of verbal dyspraxia, as well as supporting others who suffer from a speech disorder. After writing a popular poem about his struggles, he now has a blog that supports fellow sufferers and their families. He has raised over £5,000 for the Dyspraxia Foundation, as well as funding speech therapy for 4 students in his primary school. Today, our conversation is about helping families understand verbal dyspraxia and how it impacts speech and communication. Thank you so much, Mikey, for joining us and agreeing to do this interview with us. We are so honored to have you here. I would request you to say a word to our viewers.
Um, uh, um, sorry, I'm not really sure what to say.
Well, we start with the questions. Is that something you prefer? Because I know
Yeah.
Yeah?
Is that okay?
Yeah, no problem at all. No problem at all. Okay, let's do that. So, Mikey, we understand that you recently won an award. And could you tell us more about that, as well as maybe a little bit more about you?
So I've just turned 20, and I'm working as a early years educator at a private nursery, and I've received many rewards for the work that I do to raise the profile of verbal dyspraxia. I've been recognised by the Prime Minister of England when I received the Point of Light Award. I've also received the Pride of Birmingham Award, and the most recent award that I received was the Given Voice Award from the Royal College of Speech and Language Therapists.
That's amazing. At such a young age to receive so many awards, that's really amazing. And for the fantastic work that you do. All right. My next question to you is, could you tell us more about Mikey's Wish and how it got started, and what kind of changes are you seeing after starting it?
Yeah. So Mikey's Wish is a very small, like charitable course and awareness campaign. I founded it 7 years ago when I was just 13. It was started by me sharing my story of living with verbal dyspraxia, as I didn't want anyone else to feel the loneliness that my family and I felt growing up. um, I also wanted more people to understand what verbal dyspraxia was and how it impacted on someone's life. And as the Facebook page evolved, I also decided that I wanted to raise funds to support children with like children who struggle with like school work and that, like I did. And I've seen some improvements with people understanding verbal dyspraxia, and I have so many like messages from people saying that they feel so much better knowing there are others living with verbal dyspraxia.
Right. And it is such an inspiration. We have been following you for a while on Facebook.
Ah,
And, I share your page with a lot of parents who have children with verbal dyspraxia, and
yeah.
they are able to learn a lot more too from your page.
Ah.
All right. Our next question is, could you help our viewers understand what is verbal dyspraxia?
Yeah. So verbal dyspraxia is a long neurological speech disorder. Children with verbal dyspraxia have difficulty making the precise movements required for the speech, but there is no evidence of nerve or muscle damage. They have difficulty producing individual speech sounds and sequencing sounds together in words, making their speech difficult to understand, even to family members. There is no quick fix, only specialised intensive speech therapy will help improve their speech. And once we have found our speech, like our voice, we can be left with word finding difficulties and speech like retrieval difficulties, making our speech seem disjointed.
Right, right, and that explains so much to parents. You put it in a simple way for parents also and our viewers to understand. So thank you for that explanation.
Yeah, right.
But could you tell us a little bit more about your journey when your parents realized you had verbal dyspraxia to now?
Yeah. Um, so I was diagnosed at 2.5 with verbal dyspraxia, and I began that when I began the specialized speech therapy. It took another 6 years of therapy before people outside my family began to understand me. I was 15 before I was discharged from speech and language, when I was told that my speech was as good as it would get. My struggle to speak really affects my confidence and self-esteem. So much so that I still find it so difficult to speak to unknown people. My speech and language difficulties also affected my ability to learn, and I needed extra support in school to be able to access the curriculum.
Right. Okay. And I mean, I'm sure, like you said, you've gone through specialized speech therapy all these years and you were discharged at age 15. Were there
Yeah.
any other kinds of sessions, or was there an approach that helped you more than others, or did it work together?
Um, um, it was what helped me the most was when the therapy from like the therapist that I had made the like activities fun, and it just allowed me to like it just worked better that way. And the I had daily practice at home, which um which my mom like put board games in place to make it more like enjoyable, so it didn't feel like I was doing speech therapy at the time.
Right, that's lovely. Exactly. I mean, without fun, everything is a task, work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for children, just doing that again and again doesn't really help them. They just feel that they're doing a job all the time, and it's just a horrible job.
Yeah.
All right. And there was a time, and as you mentioned, it took time for you to be understood by your family as well as other family members, and you've come a long way from there. But some of the children are not able to walk that same distance as you and come to speech so easily. I mean, they still struggle even now, even at 15, 20, 25. Doesn't matter the age, right? They could still be struggling through that. What's your advice to
Yeah.
parents and for these individuals?
So my advice to parents is to like celebrate every tiny milestone that they have. Uh, be like if that was just like a new sound that the child has just began to be able to say. Also, I would say verbal communication is not the only form of communication. Like I would recommend like learning Makaton to help a child communicate. Um, and they could also use like AAC. Um, um, but when using that, like encourage verbal speech alongside it as well. So, yeah.
So glad you said that. I'm so happy when you say that, because I have experienced that again and again, where parents just focus only on the speech.
Yeah.
Everything else just goes off. And the way you said it, that you should be able to add other things to the Makaton or AAC or any form of AAC, so that their communication continues to build and at the same time work on speech. Yes, I think that's something everyone needs to hear. And thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing that. All right. So I mean, as part of our summit, the whole topic theme is the importance of relationships, movement, and consciousness for individuals with autism. Do you think that these components are important for our kids and for families as well? And is there any component that you would emphasize most on?
Yeah. I think they are so important, like for the children and families. Like I would say, relationships is such an important like thing. Like if you don't build a relationship with a child with verbal dyspraxia, then you are not going to gain like their trust. And if a child didn't feel like safe then you're not going to get the best out of them. And I think developing a bond, especially in like speech sessions, is so important. Like the same in the classroom as well. As every child deserves to feel safe at like all times as well.
I agree with you. Yes, the child needs to feel safe before they want to try anything, right?
Yeah.
They think that, oh, something is wrong with me. Someone's always trying to fix me. I don't think they would feel very competent about themselves or get that sense of self
Yeah.
to want to do anything. That's right. So relationship, absolutely. And I love that. Yes, we do. And that's the reason we actually thought of this theme as part of our summit, because we see so many parents just getting into the doing of the program to fix it all, but like losing the relationship. So thank you again for sharing that part with us. So a lot of children with autism have verbal dyspraxia and sometimes even gross body dyspraxia too. Would you be able to help our viewers understand how verbal dyspraxia could be a major challenge for the children?
Yeah. So verbal dyspraxia is a major challenge for children because it like affects every aspect of their life. They can't express their thoughts or feelings like verbally, and this could cause like huge frustration, which can then either show itself in like violence outbursts, or like me, they could end up internalizing all the frustration and not even bother trying to communicate, both which then shows themselves as like behavior issues, and they can spend all their days at school among children and adults who don't understand their needs and struggling with speech and language can then have a huge impact on the child's education, not because they are unintelligent, but because they struggle to access the curriculum and provide their intelligence. The education system isn't designed for like neurological children.
Right. So modifying the curriculum is really important. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not such. It's not done. It's just not done. We tend to go into this is the way to do it, and we're just going to stick to this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the curriculum needs to change. And
Yeah.
verbal dyspraxia, unfortunately, is still not well known by a lot of professionals, especially speech therapists. I'm a speech therapist, and I know when I was studying many years ago that it wasn't something we were like, oh, okay, we need to know a lot about. So, what advice could you give professionals to help them really understand how important it is for them to know more about it and really help more children?
Um, so yeah, so some speech therapists know very little about verbal dyspraxia. Um, that like um, I believe like it is mentioned in their training, but then they have to be like specialized in it to really understand it, which might be because it is a like relatively rare diagnosis, but those of us that live with a diagnosis really do deserve understanding, especially from those professionals that are there to help us. I do believe every therapist should have training in this area. So if you're a therapist who knows nothing about verbal dyspraxia, it like be good to take the time to learn about it. The Apraxia Kids website of on Facebook, on their Facebook page, is a good place to start like listen to the adults who are sharing their stories as well.
Right. It's good advice, because again, we all need to know more about it, and we can't get stuck in the, oh, this is what I've learned and I will just stay here with that knowledge. And definitely to be able to help more individuals who have verbal dyspraxia, we as professionals really need to get out there and learn more. Yeah. And yes, the Facebook page that you mentioned, Apraxia Kids, has been very helpful even to me. And I'm hoping a lot of other speech therapists are also getting onto that page and learning more, and really connecting the things together so that they could help more children. So yes, that's definitely a resource we could use. So Mikey, where do you see yourself 10 years from now? What changes would you like to see in the world in terms of awareness and acceptance?
In 10 years from now, I think I'll still be like raising awareness of verbal dyspraxia, and I would love to have the confidence to like go around schools and speaking about it. I would also love to work on getting more funding for speech and language, so no child will be like left behind. Here in England, children aren't receiving the speech therapy that they need, and that is like just wrong and can't be allowed to be continued. I'm also hoping to be working with children in school with like additional needs. I aspire to be like who I needed when I was like younger.
Let me tell you, you're a true inspiration, because of you see yourself being the voice and connecting to more children and more parents, and letting them know that there is help, you can get help, and you're not alone. And there's a lot more out there, and I love that that message that you spread all the time. And I love reading your posts on Facebook always. So when we were doing this post, this whole, arranging for all of this, me and my partner, we were just like, no, we have to try and get Mikey in, because you have such, you have such lovely ways of putting it across, and we really wanted you to do that with our audience too. So thank you so much for agreeing to this. And on behalf of PlayStreet team, I'd really like to thank you, Mikey, for your valuable time and for sharing all of, your story and your, your awareness and what you're doing for the children out there with us. I hope all the viewers are really able to understand what exactly verbal dyspraxia is and how it really affects an individual. Mikey has helped us understand that with the diagnosis of verbal dyspraxia or apraxia, it is very unlikely, although not impossible, that perfection will ever be reached with regards to our speech. There will be some sound errors, there will be disjointed speech due to word retrieval difficulties, etc. And he also told us that most, though not all, will find their voice, if not speech, but you could still use AAC, Makaton, sign language, anything to really help that individual bring it together. It's not just speech. Of course, you work on the speech, but that's not all. You have to encourage your child to communicate, and you have to do it in a fun way and not, kind of just say, go and learn. You have to do it in a fun way. I loved how he included that part. So I hope that we all really understand now the difficulties our children go through every moment. Feeling safe is really, really important for our individuals. Daily speech practice and communication, of course, is necessary without a doubt, but progress is slow but should be celebrated. Every small step should be celebrated, every tiny milestone. All the individuals have to fight so hard to achieve every new sound, word, and phrase, and we will continue to fight every day of our lives, not for perfection, but for that progress, so that they have a voice. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Take care and bye-bye.